Hey guys, it's Drew. Thank you for checking out the Sober Fix podcast, where we talk about addiction and living life sober, one day at a time. If you like what you hear, go ahead and follow us. And if you get some time, check out our Instagram page at the Sober Fix podcast, and also our YouTube and TikTok at the Sober Fix. Hope you enjoy the episode. What's going on, everyone? We're back. I was about to do an episode today with Mark Kneebone from Steel City Roundtable podcast. He had a bunch of stuff come up today. So I said, hey, you know what? Let's get on the computer. Let's grab the mic and let's start recording something. Let's get something out. I normally try and put something out every Monday, which can be tricky with my work schedule. I work 40 to 60, 65 hours a week. I ref a bunch of soccer games on the weekend, mainly for fun. I get paid for it too, which is cool. But I just enjoy it. It's a good workout. It's part of my cardio. It's part of my recovery program, I guess you could say. I don't think that getting comfortable sober or feeling good and content and somewhat happy on a day-to-day basis has to be all just recovery stuff. I think there's we kind of get our foundation in recovery. For me, that started off with 12-step stuff, service, trying to reach out to other people. It quickly turned into gym, exercise, watching my mental health, trying to eat right, trying to get enough sleep, trying to hang out with friends, trying to make friends that aren't in recovery, people that I can just talk to where we don't have to talk about addiction, and I don't have to always be dwelling on addiction, right? But I talk about it on a podcast because I love talking about it. It's tricky having a podcast that is like a niche. So it's not something where everyone's searching on YouTube for addiction stuff all the time. It's a big niche, but it's not something, let's say like trials, where every time you post a video, it's stuff that people are looking for right away. But I enjoy it. I enjoy coming on here. I find that recovery, man, it's a great thing. And my message to everyone is always, look, you could have destroyed your life. You could have been a terrible person. You could have burnt every bridge in the world. You could have legal issues with work, million problems as a result of your addiction. But you can turn all of that around. And I always tell people too, because some people come to me and say, man, I've really burnt my life to the ground. Not like most people. I wasn't just drinking. I was doing a lot of hard drugs, and I spent years in jail or prison, and no one will even talk to me, and no one trusts me, and my phone never rings. No one wants to hang out with me. Am I ever going to be able to turn it around? Yes, you will. And what I found is sometimes the people that have almost the further you've gone in addiction, I feel like we're all miracles when we're able to get sober, but you may be able to reach even more people if you've gone further into addiction, if that makes sense, because it's such a shock to people, and people go, man, if that guy or that lady can get sober, maybe I have a chance. And I think that it gives people hope. So if you're someone who thinks that there's no way you can turn it around, you've gone way too far deep into addiction, you can turn it around. And the thing is, when you do, you're going to go on to help a lot of people, maybe even people that you're not even trying to help, just by being an example and showing action of turning your life around. It's going to draw people in, and they can't help but say, man, if they're struggling with something themselves, maybe there's hope for me too. And that's kind of how my recovery journey started. I was around other people in rehab and people that were coming back to the rehab that had graduated, and they're saying, look, this is what I'm doing with my life now. I was just as bad as you guys, if not worse. This is what I did to climb out of it. And what started to happen for me is I started to get a little bit of hope. And it wasn't hope for me. It was hope for them. And I think that's how a lot of it starts for us, is we start to believe, hey, I think what these people are doing to stay sober, I think it's really working for them. And even the people that have issues with God or higher power, I think they start to go, you know what? I think they have a higher power, and I think it's working in their life. And as time goes on and you're consistently around these people and seeing all these miracles and seeing all these changes and seeing their life completely transform, you start to go, maybe if they can do it, I can do it. And that's when the seeds planted. And for me, I don't know when exactly that seed was planted, but I heard people talking about the things that they had been through, the death of loved ones, or just losing these crazy careers, or being so hopeless and having no spirituality, just nothing positive going on in their life. And then watching where they were today and saying, man, that's no short of a miracle. Like, that's crazy. And I started to believe for myself that maybe I can do this. And somewhere along the line, it started to give me motivation, because for so long I didn't even attempt to get sober because I didn't think it was possible. Now, why did I not think it was possible? Because I'm looking back on my past and it was something that I was never able to do, maybe for a short period of time, just until things get a little bit better. But the thing was, and I'll talk about another mistake that I made for a long time. I used to go into rehab with this idea that rehab was going to fix me. But the problem was I had been drinking and using hard drugs for 14 years. And rehab, typically for me, I think I went to the Salvation Army for 6 months once, but every other rehab I went to was about 90 days. And I found, for me, I know there's some people that they go to treatment and after 90 days, they seem to have just done such great work there that they stay sober for a long time after that. But for me, I just never did anything after rehab. I kind of treated it like it was just going to solve me. Like, I got to put all my effort into changing during these 3 months at rehab, and then I'll be fine. I'm just going to put that stuff behind me. That's in the past, and I'm going to go about my life. And that's where I would get uncomfortable, because I didn't have anything that I would do in my daily routine after rehab that would start to make me feel comfortable sober. Never felt comfortable sober. Never. Maybe in the beginning, it'd be kind of exciting. Hey, look, I'm going to change my life. I don't want to do drugs anymore. It caused me a lot of problems. But eventually, what would happen is I just got so miserable sober, and I never was sober long enough to feel better. And the emotions were insane, man. Oh my gosh. I just remember, felt like I was on an emotional roller coaster every day for those first 30 days. It was just, I didn't know what to do. And eventually, what would happen, I just couldn't take it anymore. Could not take it anymore. And I wasn't really willing to do much. I wasn't very motivated when I first get sober. I was still fighting withdrawals I didn't even realize. I was still fighting crazy depression, which I didn't realize. And I was never sober long enough to feel better. I just never gave it the time. And that's my message today. Give yourself time, man. Don't fall for the mistake that I made, that all you need is 3 months of rehab and your life will be forever fixed. A lot of us need more. A lot of us need stuff in our weekly routine to feel better. I found that for me, it was more than just using drugs. There was something about me, something about my brain chemistry, something about the way I acknowledged certain things in my life, or the way that I isolated from people, or how angry I would get or pissed off, how I would be alone, and I wouldn't raise my hand and try and talk to people. I wouldn't build a support network. I wouldn't be motivated to go to the gym in the beginning. Like, I kind of was just waiting for things to change. I wanted it really bad, but I just wasn't putting in work to feel better. I wasn't focused on my mental health. I didn't realize that I really needed to change as a person at a more deeper level, not just the surface level. Hey, I need to stop doing drugs. I needed to do more than just that. And I think that everyone is different. And I think a big part of recovery is kind of just figuring out what you need, figure out what you need. Get out of rehabs, find some type of recovery program or church or community or network of people. Start implementing different things into your life and kind of take an emotional inventory after a month and say, look, am I doing well? Am I getting in fights with people? Am I pissed off all the time? Am I super depressed? Or am I feeling good? Do I feel like this last month that I've been doing enough work that it's sufficient, that I'm feeling pretty good? And I think that's an important thing about recovery too. And I think we talked about this on, I think it was the last episode with Jonathan, where he was talking about kind of that emotional thermometer. Where am I at? What's going on with me? What do I need to change? What do I need to work on? What am I not willing to do? How am I going to get further into this recovery thing? How am I overall going to get more free? Because I feel like there's levels to freedom when it comes to staying sober. And I also know that I don't always things don't always just get better every day. There's I go through certain dips where maybe I've just been feeling good and kind of coasting, and I'm not really paying attention to how I'm feeling emotionally. I'm not really paying attention to my mental health. Life's improved so much over the last 5 years of being sober, and I kind of coast until something happens and I start to get uncomfortable, and then I say, "Okay, that's right. I need to do some things to just feel better on a daily basis." I want to talk about a little bit about my week. So I go to the dentist. When I first got sober, I had to have so much work done at the dentist. I had cavities when I was a kid, brushing my teeth all the time. Always had cavities, soft enamel, got screwed in that area. Always had to have work done on my teeth. Well, of course, you throw in opiates, you throw in meth, and you throw in all the other stuff that comes with it, and you're going to have issues. So that was part of what I had to do when I first got sober. I finally started going to the doctor. I finally started going to the dentist. I had to pay thousands of dollars at the dentist. Well, since then, finally paid all that off in recovery. And I had a crown that was moving around this week. And I've been lucky at the dentist the last few times, because every time I used to go there when I first got sober, it was, ooh, we need to show you this new treatment plan. It's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars. And I remember thinking, like many things in early sobriety, I'm not going to be able to pay for that. How am I going to do that? See, a lot of things that just seemed impossible in the beginning. And I'd stress out over it. I'd start to get those thoughts. Oh, I don't even want to go back there. How am I going to pay for this? Well, sure enough, recovery taught me, hey, look, you show up to things even when you don't like them. Make a payment plan, pay it on time, get it done, take care of your health. It's contrary action, because in addiction, you didn't really take care of anything. So in recovery, you're going to show up and you're going to get this stuff done. And I've been lucky, because the last few times everything's been fine. Haven't had any cavities, haven't had any work that I've had to get done for the last few years. And so I show up to the dentist this week. Oh man, I'm thinking, I called him on the phone. I said, look, I got a crown that's loose. Can you guys fit me in so I can show up there and you could basically re-cement it? Which is what I'm hoping it is. And it wasn't. And it's going to cost 10 grand. I have to get an implant in the back, oral surgeon. I can't take pain pills. They're going to be drilling into my jaw. And it's funny because I kind of got that feeling of it almost was like that feeling of paying the consequences for your addiction. But now, years later, see, because whenever I was feeling the consequences of my addiction, it was right when I was just getting sober again. And it was probably a good thing. I needed to feel it. I needed a wake up call. I needed to start to comprehend a lot of the damage that I had done, and just kind of feel some pain in order to have some motivation to do something different and change it and kind of do some things to change my life. But yeah, it's going to cost 10 grand. And man, it was just a weird feeling. I wonder if anyone on here has felt it, but kind of just that, oh shoot, I'm still paying consequences for the drug use. You know, it's kind of following me. I think what it was kind of that mental narrative that I used to tell myself in addiction, kind of the things like it was almost along the talk track of, oh, there's so much stuff you're gonna have to do when you get sober, and there's so much wreckage that you've ignored, and so many things that you're gonna have to deal with that it's almost worth not even changing. That was my talk track for a long time. It's different today though, and I had a couple days, I was kinda bummed out for a couple days. "Oh, man, I gotta spend all this money on this again, this and that." But I kinda was able to reframe it and kinda look at it like this: "Okay, I have to spend all this money on this dental stuff, but at least I'm doing it. At least I'm in a position to where I can pay for it and be done with it." Because any other time in my life, I wouldn't have paid for it. The last time when I first got sober, I had to use all my different credit cards, and I remember one of them. The second I paid for one treatment, it was like 7 grand, and I had like a 10 grand balance. And the second I paid for it, the company shut off the remainder of the card. So basically, my card usage went to 100%. My credit took a big dive. Didn't really matter. I think I started when I first got sober at 350, so I couldn't really mess it up any more than it already was. But it was a nightmare, right? So, point being, why am I bringing this up? Just this idea of, I think it's good to be able to flip some stuff around and look at it in a positive way. And I think it makes a big deal in being content sober. I have a choice every morning. I found I kind of wake up as an addict alcoholic. My default waking up is pretty depressed. Don't know why. Things are going really good right now. They've been going good for years. I don't know why I wake up in that mood, but luckily, because of the things I've learned in recovery, I'm able to turn that around pretty quick. And I have a choice, and I made a post about this week. I'm either going to put my energy into addiction, which I did for so many years and got all the terrible results from that, or I have a choice today to put that energy into recovery. And even the stuff that seems annoying, even the stuff that's just life happening to us, we can't do anything about it, but we can control how we react. And the thing is, it's nice to not have to drink over everything today, because I used to take tiny little problems that were completely manageable, but then I would drink or use because of them. And I would turn this little thing, I'd start drinking over getting a write up at work. The drinking would lead to hard drug use. Next thing you know, I'm fired from work. Next thing you know, I can't stop. Next thing you know, I end up in jail or in rehab again. I drank over getting a write up at work. Well, now I don't even have the job. See, and I just couldn't comprehend what I was, the gravity of my situation, like what I was really doing when I decided to pick up that drink. But I think it's good news today to be able to just look at things for what they are, and find a positive out of everything. Sometimes it's hard to do. Some situations it's hard to do, but I definitely think that it just helps with my overall morale. I want to talk about a few statistics that I found this week. Over 46 million people in the US had a substance use disorder in 2021. That was the most latest that I found. Nearly 1 in 7 Americans are struggling. It's everywhere. Your coworker, your cousin, your kid, maybe even you. It's everywhere, man. And I think people that maybe haven't been through the addiction stuff, they probably think, why are people always talking about this? Why are these sober people so happy to be sober? I think it's hard to understand if you haven't experienced it. It's in some way, whether it's food, sex, gambling, drug addiction, even video stuff now, technology. I hear people talking about today. It's a big deal, and I almost wonder, with all the technology today, with all of the social media, everything is just a swipe. I mean, you're competing to get people's attention in less than a second. you're trying to hold their attention. There's so much information out there, and there's so many clips, and there's so many podcasts, and there's so many pictures that people are posting, and so many reels. I almost wonder if this constant just being loaded with material and information and technology, I wonder how it's going to affect people years down the road. Like when you've got kids now that are able, and teenagers and young adults and adults that are able to just see so much information at once, just swipe, 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 swipe for hours looking at all these different reels. I wonder how that's going to affect addiction down the road. I wonder if we'll find more people later on just dissatisfied with life like I was, and at a greater potential to then reach out for more stimulating things in life like drugs or alcohol. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Now, this is another statistic that I found interesting. Only 6% of those with a substance use disorder received treatment. 6%. That's low. We got millions of people all over the US, all over the world battling addiction, and 6% are getting treatment. Now, I wonder if this is from a few years ago. I wonder if this is starting to change. I wonder if because of all the information that's out there and all the people that are putting themselves out there and talking about what they went through in addiction. I wonder if this is changing. I'd like to think that it is. I think there's bad things to social media, and I think there's great things to social media. And one thing I like in just being online and doing the Zoom meetings for recovery stuff, man, you don't even have to leave your house. You can have a badass network of people that are sober today, and you may not have even met them in person. I see all these posts online, just the most supportive people in the recovery network and community reaching out to people that are suffering, man, because there's a lot of people that are affected, but 6%, I wonder why that is. Why are 6% of people seeking treatment? And I kind of look back on my own experience and I say, well, why wasn't I seeking treatment? Why was there so many years that I wouldn't even consider it, that I wouldn't even think about it? And I think for a long time, the answer for me is I just wasn't ready. I was not ready. I mean, out of all those people that are suffering, how many people are ready? There's people that go their whole life, their entire life, running into dead ends because of alcohol and other stuff, and don't ever seek treatment. And so part of this is sad, I think, because there's such a great percentage of people that aren't even getting the help. But then I also, on the flip side, I look at it and I think for those of us that are sober now and have turned it around, and maybe our life's changed, but maybe we still run into those dips or those downfalls where we go, am I doing enough? Should I be further along in life? Should I have a better job? Should I have more money and in saving? Should I be doing more in my recovery program? Should I be helping more people out? I think we could take a step back and say, look, we're pretty lucky. We're in the 6% of people that are getting help. We're in the minority right now. And I think that is very easy to forget, especially when we just get caught up in the stream of life. I think it's easy to forget, man, there's people that aren't even getting help. Not just people that aren't getting help, the majority of people aren't getting help. Now, I don't know if that's because maybe that includes people in other countries where they don't have. I mean, the US has a pretty badass infrastructure for recovery nowadays. I mean, you look back to when 12 steps started and stuff like that. If you were an alcoholic, you're not going to treatment. They didn't have meetings way back then when they were just first starting out. They had the Oxford group. They had some kind of religious groups that were out there trying to work on people that were suffering from addiction and stuff. But for the most part, if you were a bad alcoholic that needed to be detoxed, you were going straight to the sanitarium, or they called it the nut house. So you weren't going online on your computer and getting on a Zoom meeting. You weren't able to go on Facebook and find some group, or go on YouTube and message some people that are doing stuff for people that suffer from addiction. I mean, there's rehabs all over the place now. Places where your insurance will pay for stuff, but there's also a bunch of places where you don't even need $1 to get in. There are county funded places where if you want to change your life and you're ready to get sober, there's detoxes. I'm not saying they're all good. Not all of them are going to give you medical detox. They probably can't afford that, some of these county funded places. But if you want to get sober today, there are a lot of ways to do it. It is the best time ever in the US to get help if you really, really want it. Some of us need it. I get messages all the time where they say, "Man, I'm struggling so bad. What do you do to stay sober?" And I'll kind of talk to the person, because the thing is, I think for a lot of us at some point, especially depending on what you're using, how much you've been using, how often, for how long, some of us need detox. Like, we can't even start the recovery stuff until we're detoxed. At least for me, I couldn't get a grasp on any of it mentally, and I couldn't even sit long enough to listen to anyone or focus on anything until I was detoxed. Once I went through detox, everything opened up. But I think for a lot of us, we have to almost be taken out of society for a little bit just to get that week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on what you're coming off of, so that you could start to sit still and actually start to get some of this recovery stuff and able to listen to it, and then able to start taking some steps towards changing some stuff. I want to go over this statistic. It says drug overdoses killed over 100,000 people in the US in 2022. I believe it is bigger now. The problem is, that's from 3 years ago. The thing now with the fentanyl stuff, so many more people are losing their life. You just don't have a chance. You just don't have a chance on that stuff. I had friends who started the opiate pills and other stuff in the beginning, and you'd see their life go downhill, and every once in a while someone would mix some stuff, and their respiratory system would shut down, and they'd go to sleep at night, and they wouldn't wake up in the morning. People were definitely dying years ago. But it's a different story with the fentanyl stuff, man. It's sad to see, and the thing that I hate to see the most are the people that are in high school, high schoolers, and especially the ones that they're not even trying to do fentanyl. I saw a story. It was a young lady. I think she was 16, 17 years old. Yeah, she must have been like senior year. Maybe she was a little bit older, first year in college. Went to buy a Xanax for the first time. Probably had heard some stuff. Oh, it works great for anxiety, this and that. Probably didn't want to go to the doctor and get prescribed it. Wanted to try it one time. Probably had a bunch of friends that had tried it. Sure enough, it's pressed with fentanyl, dead. It's deadly enough for people that are doing opiates every day. But then you throw it into someone's system who doesn't do anything and is expecting to buy something else. And next thing you know, there's fentanyl in it, man. It's terrible. I hope that changes. I don't know what the answer is. I know that stuff's always gonna keep coming in, man, but it's like, I try to tell people it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game, and it's hard to tell people that. It's hard to really put it in words to where people listen. I often tell people that are doing opiates that are younger, I say, "Look, I didn't overdose once in 13, 14 years. I did fentanyl. First week I was doing it, I died." So I try and say that as Hey, look, it's a whole different game. This isn't something that you just do here and there, and like pills used to be years ago, where you think you're just going to dabble in this and you're going to be fine. No, there's no room for error. It gets a hold of you, and you're stuck. I want to read this. The average person tries to quit 5 to 7 times before finding lasting sobriety. Man, I wish this was true for me. 5 to 7 times. More like some people try to quit 1,005 to 1,007 times. That was me, man. You guys have heard me on here. My main underlying message with everything is perseverance. Some people are going to work their way to sobriety. Some people are going to fail their way to sobriety. Some people are going to relapse their way to sobriety. Now, does that mean everyone has to relapse? Absolutely not. There's people that get sober the first time. They go on to do great things, and they help a lot of people. But there's some people that are going to have some relapses. And the only thing I did right throughout everything, the only thing I did right, I did a million things wrong and suffered the consequences of those for a lot of years. The only thing I did right, I just kept showing up. Anytime I found myself completely full blown addicted again, anytime I found myself drinking every day, I just kept trying. I just kept trying, even when I felt like there was just no more hope. I remember the last treatment center that I went to. It was during COVID. I had just died from fentanyl. I felt absolutely terrible. I felt like I was dead, honestly. I felt absolutely terrible. And I remember they weren't taking people into jail because of COVID. And I remember, which was a shock because I was in drug court, and people, if you get high in drug court, you're going in. There's just no way around it. And I remember my probation officer, she goes, "Man, we've lost 4 or 5 people from your group. 4 or 5 people. And you need to go to treatment again." And I remember part of me I was just so beaten down. I thought, oh, I just went to treatment. I just had 10 months sober. How did this happen? I had absolutely zero motivation to go to another treatment center. Absolutely zero. But it was just that persistence. I just said, look, I don't feel like doing this right now, but I also don't feel I know what's going to happen if I continue to drink and use. Like, I just died yesterday. I know what's going to happen. So I really don't have a choice in the matter, but the best thing I could do for myself is just show up and go get help for that. And that's what I did. And I just showed, and I didn't want to be there again, man. I remember I was sitting in like groups and people were talking, and it was just, oh, I just got through this 10 months ago for the 6th or 7th time. I just got through this and I didn't want to be there. But I look back on that now, and I think that it was almost a good thing. I obviously it was a good thing that I went, and I got distanced from all the substances again. But I think it was a good thing that I went, even though I didn't want to be there, because I think what it is I think it kind of gave me this drive that I don't want to do this again. Like, I'm not happy to be here right now. I'm not happy to have to restart. I'm not happy that my drug court is now frozen. I got to go through treatment and then go back to court and kind of start all over again. I wasn't happy about any of that. But what it did is it gave me an opportunity to use that frustration and kind of that letdown and that pain and that guilt and that shame and just that anger of having to restart again. I think it eventually fueled me in trying to do something different, because I remember the first few weeks, I just hated being there. But I started to get into action after that, started to feel a little bit better. And what it told me is, dude, you don't really know what you're doing when it comes to staying sober long term. like all of your bright ideas that you normally have and all these things that you say you're going to do different than what everyone else is doing to stay sober, they just never pan out. You don't use drugs or alcohol successfully, like you never have. And it kind of reminded me that it's all or nothing for a lot of us. It's not like all of us just think, "Oh, I'm happy to be abstinent from everything. I'm better than you. This is great." No, a lot of us, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We've exhausted every possible way that we can try and control and enjoy drinking, and it just doesn't work. And I got out of there, and I think sometimes when we're ready, we're kind of tired of the whole process of getting sober, and we're kind of burnt out on it. And I don't think that's always a bad thing. Obviously, it's bad to get to a point where you just have no hope at all and absolutely no motivation. But I think if you don't like having to restart over and over again, I think you're going to get somewhere. I think you're kind of getting to the point that I got to where I gotta do something. I don't like this anymore. This isn't fun. I'm not 20 years old anymore going to rehab where I still have this great job and I have insurance. And like this has continued to progress and I'm not doing well in life and I'm starting to get older. I need to do something about this. I want to go to this next statistic, and this is something that I'm excited to read. It says recovery works. About 75% of people who experience addiction eventually recover. Let that sink in. 3 out of 4 people. It's not only possible, it's actually probable that eventually you're going to get sober. I've never heard anything like this. 75%? We just read that 6% of people end up getting treatment. I think that was talking about for 1 year, though. But now it's saying that 75 people that deal with addiction eventually recover. That seems high to me. I don't know. But that's exciting stuff. And I think what it's saying is it's giving people hope, and it's saying, look, man, maybe you're dealing with issues now. Maybe you're having a problematic relationship with alcohol, but eventually you can get this. And these are, you don't hear that statistic when you're in rehab. Oftentimes you hear, hey, look, you're all screwed. 75% of people eventually get sober. I got a couple more, guys. It says peer support groups increase the likelihood of long-term sobriety by up to 60%. Connection is the antidote to addiction. No one gets sober alone. Find your support group. I don't know what that is. I started off with 12-step stuff, but there's a lot of people that can't stand 12 steps. So find out yours. My advice would be check it out. Make sure you go. You want to give yourselves as many chances for success as you can. And I hear 12-step stuff get attacked a lot, but it's really the only place. Well, there's church stuff, there's Celebrate Recovery, there's Smart Recovery. There's a few places you can go when you don't have the insurance and you don't have thousands of dollars saved up. And if you're in the position like I was, where you need to find a place like that that allows you in without having to spend a bunch of money or having insurance, do it. Try it out. Basically my point is before you knock anything, give it a try. Because you never know what's going to stick. People in recovery report better mental health, relationships, and life satisfaction than they did before addiction. Man, that is so true for me. So true. But I also I wasn't one of those people that had anything working for me at the end. There was nothing that I had to show for myself at the end. There was nothing that drinking was fixing at the end. It was literally just allowing me to black out and not think about all of the stuff that I had ruined over the course of the years previous to that present moment. That's all it did. It just allowed, like, drinking more was my solution, because if I didn't drink, I had to think about everything that I had destroyed. So I was in that vicious cycle of drink, blackout, wake up, feel terrible, hate my life, super depressed, feel like there's no way out, drink, temporarily feel better that day, blackout, forget about everything, which was the goal. And then I'd have to do the same thing over and over and over. And what started to happen is I had to drink or use more and more to reach that blackout or that numbing out effect. And it just stopped working. I want to squeeze these in here real quick. It says 40 to 60% relapse rates are common in the first year of recovery. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's probably about what I've seen. I know that relapse does not have to be a part of your story. It may happen. If it does, it's really about just at least learning something from it. I am grateful that I had 3 relapses, but I wasn't grateful at the time. I hated the fact that I relapsed. But looking back on it now, as time goes on, I realized, oh, yeah, I needed that. I learned, one, I was overconfident, and realized what happens when I personally get overconfident about staying sober and putting myself in sketchy situations. I found out the hard way. I found out what happens thinking that I could just drink alcohol after putting hard drugs down. Some people can. I definitely couldn't. I learned a lesson from each one of my relapses, and I think they needed to happen. Unfortunately, I didn't like them. It wasn't cool. I was actually absolutely miserable. I almost lost my life on the last one. But I realized now, and the last one, the thing that I learned was recovery has to come first. Addiction will kill me. It will. I don't know if it's the same way for everyone, but I know for me, I found that out the hard way. And I think that also played a big part in the last rehab that I went to, because I was desperate. At that point, it was, look, I can't stay sober on my own. Haven't been able to. Tried really hard to control my drinking. Never ends well. Maybe I need to do this recovery thing. I want to finish on this. Over 23 million Americans are in recovery right now. It's a movement, man. You're not alone. When you feel alone because you're surrounded by family, friends, coworkers that are normal drinkers, you're not alone. You don't have to reach very far to find someone that is going through exactly what you've gone through. And although a lot of us feel unique in our own situation, and maybe a lot of our life experiences and childhood experiences and things like that can be unique, we can all relate to what it felt like to quit 10 times in one day, or maybe at least 10 times in a week, or 10 times in a month, or even 10 times in a year. We can relate to the feelings. We can relate to the struggle. I always, no matter where I am, if I'm in a position to start talking to people around me and meeting people that are around me, I always end up talking to the person that's sober. Don't try to. I don't just put it out there. I talk about it on a podcast. I don't tell everyone I run into in real life. It's funny, man. I'm always end up being drawn. There could be a room full of 300 people. I'll end up talking to the guy that's sober, the one person there that's sober. Guaranteed. I don't know how it happens. We just seem to find each other, I guess. But it's a cool thing. And the message is, there's a lot of people out there. You are not alone. If you feel like you're alone in your current life situation right now, you need to network more. You need to get out there more. It's hard to open up. It's hard to ask for help. It's hard to show up to recovery stuff. Sometimes it's hard to show up to work, show up to the gym, whatever it is you do to feel good sober. We got to do it, man. There's one thing. There's a lot of stuff we could argue about. We could argue about 12-step stuff. We could argue about religion. We could argue about higher power. One thing that all recovery platforms will not argue about is that you can't do it alone. Don't try. It's not as much fun alone. It's not as efficient alone. It's not as helpful alone. Don't do it alone. Get out there. Millions of people in recovery. You saw the number. What was it? 23 million Americans in recovery right now. Find your people, man. Recovery isn't just for the lucky few. It's for anyone who's willing to fight for their life one day at a time. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's someone you love. If today's episode hit home, share it with someone that you know that is sober or has battled addiction, or maybe they're just thinking about, hey, do I have an alcohol problem potentially? Maybe they're sober curious. Maybe they're just thinking about it. Share it, man. I appreciate you guys. I love all the comments. I just want to give a shout out real quick. One of the things that I like to do is I go on Spotify and I see the different countries for people that have listened to the podcast. And I think today or this week, there's some Philippines on there. I think I saw Iran. I saw Sweden, Netherlands. Cool stuff, man. And it just goes to that last statistic, all these millions of people around the world. But if you enjoyed the episode, go ahead and follow. I just want to remind you guys, we're on YouTube. We're on TikTok. We are on Instagram. If you have a story to tell, if you want to come on the podcast, let me know. Message me. Check out the website, soberfixpodcast.com. And you can leave comments on episodes too. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear how long you've been sober, or if you're thinking about being sober, or if you battled addiction. I'd love to hear from you guys. You guys are my people. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great week. All right, you made it through another episode. Thanks again. And if you'd like to collaborate or come on the show, please email me at thesoberfixpodcast@gmail.com. Have a great day.